Hello my dear YouTuber friends, I hope you're all keeping well. Welcome to this new video where it's me giving you my first impressions of X-Plane 11 with a scenery add-on package, which I'll discuss more in the video. Giving you my first impressions, I've had it for a few days. I'm going to tell you how I feel, compare it to Flight Simulator 2020 in terms of graphics, setup, controls, ease of use, that type of thing, and giving you my opinion on whether or not you should buy it, both as a veteran flight simmer and as a newcomer to flight simulators. So let's get into this. Okay, so no messing around here. I'm loaded into X-Plane. In the default Cessna, I'm using the Logitech Flight Yacht system. And most of the controls, I'll show you the controls later, are mapped by default, so the hat switch is mapped. I just had to assign a button to put me back to the center of the cockpit view. Let's throttle up, release the parking brake, and go on a flight. Now, I'm using True Earth Great Britain Central add-on package here, just for reference. Straight away, my first impressions, when I'm on the runway even, feels very lively, very refined, the way I would expect a Cessna light aircraft to behave. Taking off, trimming, I set some trimming on a rocker switch on my Logitech Flight Yacht system. I'm not using my multi-panel for this. The whole control of the aircraft, the way it controls, the way it feels, just feels very refined. Out of the box, basically, or virtually. I've not changed any sensitivities or profiles with the pitch and roll. Just feels very nice to fly. It's maybe not a surprise X-Plane has been around as a franchise for some time. X-Plane 11 at least for a couple of years. It's been refined, edited, and now pretty much almost perfected in terms of flight controls. It's very, very nice to fly. If you compare it to Flight Simulator 2020, where you have those sensitivity issues until you set them up properly, in comparison, this just feels great. But it feels realistic and refined in a different sense as well. Very nice. It hasn't disappointed me on that score. Before I bought X-Plane, I heard a lot of good things. By the way, you can probably tell where we are. We're in Blackpool. You can see Blackpool Tower coming up on our left there. Very nice scenery at this. I'll talk about graphics in just a moment. Compared to, if you compare it to the flight simulators that were around before Flight Simulator 2020 even, so Flight Simulator X and Prepared 3D, just feels very nice to fly. Very professional, the way you would expect your aircraft to behave. There's a lot of add-on aircraft you can buy, packages, and add-on scenery packages. Like I said, it's been around for a long time. It near enough feels perfect in terms of the flight systems and the way it feels. Graphically, as you can see, now this is an add-on package. I bought this because I wanted to see a True Earth Great Britain Central. I'm not disappointed by it. But to be fair, the default scenery is not going to be anywhere near as good as Flight Simulator 2020. With this add-on scenery package, and this covers 60,000 square kilometers apparently, it's not that far removed from what we're seeing in Flight Simulator 2020. Now, yes, Flight Simulator 2020 is a lot more recent. It's a lot more recent graphic engine in that simulator as well. So obviously it's going to look a lot better, better than X-Plane does. But this actually looks pretty good to me. This scenery package has been around for a while. And if you're getting into Flight Simulator specifically, you're not going to be disappointed. Let me show you my settings that I have this set to. So I'll go up to the top here, click this icon in the top right. It will take you to the settings. With Flight Simulator 2020, let me link my video on that, how that performs on my mid-spec PC. I'm running a 1066GB and a Ryzen 1600AF with 16GB of DDR4 memory. I've got this one set to medium high. I'm going to probably push this higher because it does feel very smooth in flight. Visual effects to medium, number of world objects to high, texture quality on high, reflection detail I can possibly push that up, but I don't feel a need to at the moment. I've got that on low, and to aliasing on 1, I could certainly push that up a little bit further. In fact, why not do that? Set it to 2 at least. Filtering to 2. Draw shadows on scenery even. It's using the Vulkan engine apparently. I don't know where that is, but it's somewhere around. Use Vulkan for faster rendering. With those settings, which are slightly higher than what I have in Flight Simulator 2020, it feels very smooth. I've not put on a sort of frame counter, frames per second counter, yet. If you're interested in me doing that, I'll probably release a video on how X-Plane performs on my mid-spec PC. But it just feels very smooth. No stuttering. That sort of increments you're seeing there is just the way the hat switch is set up currently. But I'm estimating at least, I'm thinking around 40 frames per second currently with these settings, even with this add-on scenery package. Regardless, it just feels very smooth. No complaints with the way it performs on my system at all. Let's just fly around here. And let's head back towards the tower, Blackpool Tower, and then we'll fly more inland and maybe even raise our altitude a little bit more when we get inland, just to show you more of this stunning scenery that you're getting on this add-on package as well. So my first impressions of this, I've only had it for the past couple of days, or past few days, and I've only flown it a couple of times currently. My first impressions is that it feels absolutely fantastic and refined. I'm going to use that word a lot, refined, to fly. It looks, whilst not looking quite as good as Flight Simulator 2020, I've no complaints about the way it looks at all. I'm actually enjoying this scenery package specifically, and generally the way it looks. I was expecting to be disappointed with the way X-Plane graphics will display or look, and I'm not actually. I'm actually really impressed with them so far. So we'll just fly a little bit further towards the tower. In fact, now I feel it's a good time to show you the control setup in X-Plane and how that compares with Flight Simulator 2020. Okay, so when you first start X-Plane and you go to options and then go to your joystick, if you've got something like the Logitech Flight Yoke or Honeycomb Flight Yoke system set up on your PC, it should auto detect it. It did mine. So things like the pitch and roll were automatically detected. Like I said before, the hat switch was automatically detected in all directions, as you can see here. I had to change a couple of things. Now, because I'm using the Replica 737 replica handles for my Logitech throttle unit, you can see that my throttle on that unit is actually set to the where the prop would normally be. So I had to change that, but it's pretty easy to do. If I move what I currently have set as throttle there, you can see the actual axis moving. To change that from prop to throttle, you just go down to the drop down box and then change it to throttle. Very simple to do. If you want me to make a video on setting up your controls in X-Plane, let me know. It's been around for a lot longer, but some people may still be struggling with this. Flaps I have on my leftmost lever, where my mixture usually is. So the same thing, I just had to go to the drop down box and just go to flaps, so that's now my flaps. Throttle, what's normally throttle, I've got set to none at the moment. I've set up a couple of buttons like T4, which is this button here as my parking brake. And if I click that, you can see it flashing on screen. So, if I want to set up a new button, so let's go T6, this button here, I can either mouse over it and it'll show me where it is here, or simply click it on the physical unit and you can see it flashing on screen. If I want to set that button up as, let's say, external view as my chase camera, so just start typing in external view and these options will come up. I'll set it to my chase camera, set to apply. T6 now, that button here, it's got 9 or T6, is now set up as my chase camera. Let's go and test that out. Let's unpause the simulator, press that button. Look, I'm outside the aircraft. And again, just while I'm there, those graphics do look pretty damn good to me. Very impressive. If I want to get back to my cockpit view, I set up a button on my yoke system to take me back to my default cockpit view. I'll press that. And hey presto, I'm back in my cockpit. No issues at all. Setting up those controls compared to Flight Simulator 2020 are a breeze. Like I mentioned before, the sensitivity of your yoke system, left, right, the roll and pitch, just feels good out of the box. If you want to modify them, you can start adding response curves rather, and goodness knows what, and play around with them. I don't feel I've had to at the moment. Setting up the rest of the buttons is an absolute breeze. Just press them to see where they are in relation to this panel, and then you can just edit it and just set them up. If only Flight Simulator 2020 was this easy. I don't mind the settings personally in Flight Simulator 2020, but I'm loving these. I'm absolutely loving the way this is set up. So this is absolutely a win in terms of setting up your controls for X-Plane. And so let's get to the burning question: which simulator would I most recommend for people wanting to get into flight simulators, or people who are looking to buy a new flight simulator in general? Well, if you're a veteran flight simmer, if you play flight simulators for some time, you want the best of the best, the most variety in terms of add-on packages and add-on aircraft, and generally the most realism, opt for X-Plane. If you're a newcomer to flight simulators, you want to get the flight simulator that looks the absolute best, go for Flight Simulator 2020. I'm still amazed every time I play that simulator. I fly in that simulator. I love Flight Simulator 2020. Yes, it's a little bit more finicky when setting up controls if you want your sensitivity set. If you're a newcomer completely to flight simulators, you're probably not even going to worry about sensitivity and goodness knows what. If you do, go and check out my videos. I guide you through how to set them up. But like I said, if you want to be amazed, absolutely blown out of your seat, out of your socks when trying a flight simulator, Nothing can beat that first experience, an experience generally you get with Flight Simulator 2020. But X-Plane isn't that far behind. It's continually getting developed. There's always new patches and engines pushed out for this. I reckon it won't be too long till we're seeing something like Flight Simulator 2020 graphics in X-Plane. It won't be that far in the future. I'm going to go middle of the road here, and I'm going to say the ideal situation and scenario is to buy both simulators. Buy both Flight Simulator 2020 and X-Plane. You can often find X-Plane and the add-on scenery packages on sale. Like I did, I paid under £60, which is less for the X-Plane and scenery package, which is less than Flight Simulator 2020 in itself. You can often find these on sale, so go and buy this. And if you haven't tried Flight Simulator 2020 yet, go and buy that and just be prepared to be amazed. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts. One other thing I should mention before I forget. When you install X-Plane, the amount it takes up on your hard drive is roughly the same as Flight Simulator 2020. Now, if you wanted to install the whole suite of True Earth packages in X-Plane, you're going to need a heck of a lot of hard drive space. The good thing with Flight Simulator 2020 is that a lot of the world comes in this sort of default looking excellence that you're seeing even in X-Plane here. By default, Flight Simulator 2020 cities and areas already look better than this. So if you want to get X-Plane looking the best of the best, you're going to have to spend quite a bit of money to download the scenery packages that cover most of the world, and a heck of a lot of hard drive space. You're just going to have to keep that in mind. I think this True Earth takes up around 60 gigabyte by itself. Luckily, I do have a 500 gigabyte M2 drive, so it's not so much an issue for me, but it might be for other people. Anyway, I won't go on. Let me know your thoughts. Do give the video a like if you've enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe for more Flight Simulator videos in general. And I'll see you soon.